Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Through Black and White Eyes. Sorry for the late start there. I've got Joel in the background. So grateful he's coming on to do this so we can talk about a player we've never heard of until the news broke that we were chasing him. And Joel put out on his Twitter account, that we should be excited by him. So we're going to try and find out what this could mean for Newcastle and mean for the player. Find out about his attributes and all that sort of stuff. But before we do that, we'll just do the usual stuff. I've still got the stupid cough. Don't forget about our sponsors, Diacro, 20% off using code BAZ20. Link is in the description. Geordieland Experience, amazing if you want to come to Newcastle and go out and adventure. And thank you to Henderson Taxis for sponsoring our charity football game, which we have Peter Beardsley playing in, 3rd of August. Raffle is open for it. So please contact myself for tickets. We've started selling them and we would love to raise as much money as we can for charity. So without any further ado, let's bring Joel in. Good morning, Joel, I believe.
Yes, it is morning here on the East Coast. Good afternoon for you guys.
Yes, it is. Halfway through the day already and I've just got out of bed after night shift. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm looking forward to hearing about this player, Park Seung-soo. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Park Seung-soo. Yep.
Hey, I did a good job. I'm terrible at pronouncing names, so I'm actually quite proud of myself for getting that sort of right. I'm a bit confused a little bit because I watched some videos that you posted, and it shows him playing down the left. And then when I Googled him on SofaScore, as everyone does to get stats and statistics, they say he's right-footed. I thought he was left-footed.
Yeah, he's a right-footed winger.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he plays on the left, but he can also play a little bit on the right as well as playing the 9 spot in front. So, as most Korean players are, he is, a lot of Korean players do well on both foot. It's rare that, you only find a prospect being able to do well on just one foot. So He definitely fits the mold of a good Korean prospect. That can play with either left or right foot.
Because he was using his left quite a lot when I was watching the videos when he was down the left, and I thought, all right, this looks all right. I mean, we're blessed with quite a few left wingers already, so it would be difficult for him to break into the first 11 for at least a couple of years. Obviously, we're buying him more down the line, aren't we? That's the idea of it. I noticed his pace is good, but it's not electric. But he seems to be very clever with what he does on the ball. So when he goes down the left, he's happy to put back inside. He's still also happy to go around the player if he can. What would you say here was his best attribute?
Yeah, his best attributes are that he's a very pacey winger type. He is very quick. He's got very good acceleration. He's got good ball control and very great technical skills. And so I think probably among his best attributes is that he's a great one-on-one player. He likes isolating defenders,
right?
Bringing width to the attack, isolating defenders, and either literally just going around them, around the corner on the outside, or he can cut in as well. He has the speed and pace to do that. And so I think that's probably the most appealing attribute about him. He has the speed, he has his burst, he has a very good first step, and he just has that raw athleticism that's very hard to just teach.
Yes.
So he's got a lot of innate, natural athletic ability. And again, he's also very young. He just turned 18. And so
March, wasn't it? 17th of March, his birthday.
Yeah.
We feel like Stoker's doing this, don't we? We're like Stoke playing.
Yeah. Oh, well, we have to. There's not much out on him just yet. He's just a young prospect, but he's, his name is growing in popularity, and more people are taking notice of him, especially last season when he became the youngest player to score in the K-League 2.
Oh, wow.
And so, it's K-League 2, but it's still a professional league. And for a player like him at his age to come in and kind of do what he did and become the youngest player to score, and also, if you saw through some of my clips and some of the highlights that I posted in the past, just some of the stuff that he's been able to do for for Suwon Samsung. He's been really impressive for his age, and so a lot of people have gotten excited about him in regards to that. And so I would say his best attributes are just his speed, his pace, his quickness, and it's because of those reasons that he's often compared to in some ways with, like, let's say a Sonny, a Son Heung-min. And just a word about that. I think with Son Heung-min, there's probably no other athlete or prospect that I'm aware of that literally has the same physical profile as Son Heung-min. Like, you remove Park Seung-soo's face and put Son Heung-min's face on it, you wouldn't be able to tell much of a difference. Like, his body, his legs, everything, and the way he moves with the ball is also in some way very similar as well, very reminiscent of Sonny. But I also think another player that you can kind of maybe compare him with is like Matoma in that kind of sense.
Yeah.
Just his acceleration, his burst, and his ability to just penetrate and break down defenses, and just his ability just to put pressure on defenses and just, bring the ball with pace up front. And so I think those are probably his strongest attributes, and those are the things that make him very appealing as a prospect, and I'm sure opens the eyes of many clubs and scouts who come in to watch him.
Yeah, I noticed a lot in the videos, like, he likes to hug the touchline, doesn't he? He'll only come inside when he's got the ball, but he would keep that width and he'll wait for the ball to come to him. He seems to be very clued up on that side of things, which is great to see at a young age. Yeah,
he's very intelligent. He's very crafty as a player. And you'll see him a lot of times hug that touchline. But there's also times where he'll just burst right through the middle if he sees a seam open up. And he'll take advantage of that for sure. And so he's definitely an exciting and fun player to watch. That's for sure.
You mentioned he was the youngest scorer in the K-League 2. Now, obviously, I don't know much about that league at all. I'm not going to lie. But if you were to, make a comparison for that league to an English league, where would you place it? Like Championship, League 1, League 2? What would be the standard, would you put it as?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Well, I don't think even K-League 1, I don't think K-League 1 is frankly on any level comparable to the Championship itself. A lot of our best K-League 1 players go into Championship and they have to adjust, to put it nicely. They get worked quite a bit. Championship is very physical player, and the pace is just on another level in the K-League 1. And so, honestly, I think K-League 1 is maybe a little on par with, it's hard to put a finger on it, but maybe like League 1 or so. And so take K-League 2, which is another level below K-League 1. There's a bit of a drop in competitiveness and standards, as if you like to think about it that way. It's really hard to say. I think K-League 2, I would say if maybe like a League 2 or maybe National League. That's where I would kind of place K-League 2. Some ardent, diehard K-League fans may disagree or may have other opinions. By the way, my specialty isn't necessarily in the K-League. My specialty is covering players who make the move abroad, but I do definitely keep.
That's fine. Yeah, that's just
there. But that's where I would best put it, probably.
Yeah. No, perfect. He's obviously a young, hot prospect. Why do you think Newcastle are looking at him? Do you think he fits on more? Have you watched much of Newcastle at all in the last?
Admittedly, I cover so many different clubs with our Korean players on the team, so I haven't necessarily studied Newcastle or harped in very much. But from the little that I did do, I understand that the Newcastle football philosophy is very much an attacking football style, from what I understand. And,
very high pressing. That's what we like to do. High press, for high intensity. Win the ball high. Try and puncture teams that way, making them force them into mistakes. Yeah. And then when we've got the ball, we're very clever with it. I think it's the best way to do it. We can have a slow build up. We're also happy to go down the channels very quickly because we've got pace on our side with Gordon and Isak. So. By the sounds of things, what you've been telling me, he kind of does fit the mold of a Newcastle player.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he definitely fits in that type of system. He's a very vertical player, And so he's always someone you just have to keep your eye on. You take one eye off of him, and boom, he's already down the field. Catching a link up ball from another player, or he's always just a threat in the middle third and the final third. And so he's definitely a player that puts a lot of pressure on the offenses. On the defense.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think he would be a great complement in time down the line, because he's a project player. I don't see him coming in and contributing right away. Definitely not. He's a project, but down the line, I think he'll be a great asset, and would be a great complement along the other forwards that you have there for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, if we look in the Premier League, there's one player who I really liked, and he unfortunately was at Man United, was Seung-soo Park. I thought he was very underrated as a player. And then you've got Mimitoma at Brighton, who is just unbelievable. I would love to see him in a black and white shirt as well. So,
yeah, he's great. Yeah.
And I know this sounds horrible, and it has been mentioned in the chat somewhere. Where was it? Commercial or future prospect. Now, I hate seeing players as billboards, but do you think this is also a ploy from Newcastle to try and get more fans from South Korea in that region, to basically spend money on our club rather than the Man Uniteds and the Brightons and them lot? So and I hate saying that, but we did say quite a lot about a Canadian player, and I forget his name. He was at Chelsea, and we were like, if we sign him, we could make so much money revenue-wise as well. And it's horrible thinking about a player as a business, but that is what football's turned into, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's
absolutely.
kind of, could you see it being exploited by Newcastle, like buying a player, might never make the first 11, but there'll be a lot of eyes on Newcastle because of the signing?
Yeah, for sure. I think it'd be naive to think otherwise. I think him being a Korean player and a hot prospect, and just because of the popularity of Korean players in Asia and just our country and our pride of our players and how we so fervently and ardently support all of our players, you would definitely have to think that was part of the process of why Newcastle wanted to bring a player like that into the fold of Newcastle, so that they can expand the market of Newcastle and tap into Asia, which is a very wise decision, on every level. So just give an example, even a player like Lee Kang-in, who plays for PSG, best team in the world, arguably at the moment. His jersey sells more jerseys than any other player on the team, and it's been that way for a while. So even when he joined the team, I think he sold more jerseys than Mbappe. So
wow. See, that's the sort of thing that skyrockets you, doesn't it, into popularity?
Yeah.
And I know it's horrible because you're kind of talking about a player as a billboard rather than his ability, but there's obviously a double-edged sword for Newcastle here, because we could be getting a hot prospect and he could work out, but we're also getting into the industry, the football industry in South Korea, and people go nuts. You'll have people flying over from South Korea just to go and stand next to the Alan Shearer statue next.
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's great for, a club like Newcastle and the market that you guys represent to open their doors to a brand new audience. And I don't think necessarily it's a bad thing that you create the synergy between, two cultures and two different regions coming together, and just bringing on a whole, what would you say? Just a whole bandwagon, of fans that will now support the club and really bring an international flavor to the club. But I also just want to say on that note, just because you have a Korean player, it doesn't necessarily mean that fans will get super excited about it. The player would have to produce it. They have to play some sort of role. There are a lot of Korean players that play for other clubs, but they're not really getting anywhere, and those kind of players are not as popular. But Lee Kang-in is popular because after Sonny, he's arguably our next biggest superstar, who we look to, who will take over Korean football. And so again, there's just a lot of focus on him, and he's a great player. He's terrific. Anytime he plays, his quality is very evident. So that's why he's popular. He's big. In the case of Park Seung-soo, he's still a prospect. He's still very young. He's still very much unproven, and so I think he will need that time to develop. He will need that time to show himself to be a player that is capable of winning the affections and passions of the fan base.
Yeah.
And that's going to take some time. And so, with that said, like, if it all goes well and he becomes he becomes a good player in the Premier League, yeah, for sure. I think his jersey sales will blow up, especially in Asia. But yeah, I mean, if it's just a failed project, probably not much that Newcastle will get out of it. And so yeah, I think it was a shrewd move to widen the exposure of Newcastle, but at the same time, the player does have to be, have some quality. Yeah. You have to contribute something for the full effect of at the Asian fan base or the Asian market to take much interest. Yeah,
I like that. Young Min Haik at Queen's Park Rangers.
Yang Min-hyuk.
Yang Min-hyuk. Yes. Is he any good? I don't watch much Championship football, to be honest.
Oh yeah, he's terrific. He's terrific. So I put up a post recently, not too long ago, on my X account, KNT Football, where I cautioned Newcastle fans just to pump the brakes a little bit on their excitement over Park Seung-soo. Because again, there's word going around that he's gonna be the next Son Heung-min or whatnot. And honestly, I kind of contributed to that last year because I got excited. Didn't say he was going to be the next Son Heung-min, but I did say he has a potential to be, and you would hope that of any Korean prospect.
Of course.
And with this capability, but yeah, I think out of our three young Prem signees, and we look forward to Park signing with Newcastle fairly soon, according to the latest reports. But out of Yang Min-hyuk for the Spurs, out of Yoon Do-young for Brighton, and now hopefully Park Seung-soo from Newcastle, Yang Min-hyuk is definitely the most refined and most ready to play. And I mean, he's shown it in the Championship. With limited minutes, I think he scored 2 goals and an assist, and he didn't look too phased. Compared to other Korean players who've gone over and struggled. And so yeah, he's very good. We have high hopes for him. Good chance he might be loaned out again this year. But he's going to try to contend and play under Thomas Franks, and Spurs there. So we'll see what happens with him. Yeah,
definitely. I think if we signed him personally, after being 18, you'd probably be loaned straight out again to get minutes, to get exposure.
Park Seung-soo, right?
Yeah, we're very good at. I mean, our loans have been terrible for some players, but for other players, we've actually done really well. Like Minter, who is at Brighton. We loaned him out into the Dutch league. He excelled, and then we ended up making 30 million from him from a very small fee. So I could see potentially that being sort of the avenue. Would you be happy to see that for the player? We sign him, and then he goes into, like, say, the Dutch league or German league to learn his trade.
Yeah, I think he could use that. I think he needs time to get on the pitch and adapt to Euro football. He is not anywhere near capable of jumping on a Prem pitch right now and playing right away. I think he needs time in the Dutch league or in Belgium or somewhere else to kind of get acclimated at first. And honestly, with that other player that you just mentioned, he eventually got sold for 30 mil or whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Park doesn't get sold because
me too.
I like Newcastle. I think Newcastle is a big club. I think it would do a lot for Korean football to have a Korean player featured there. So I hope, one way or another, Park finds his way in the starting 11 at some point in the future. But yeah, I think definitely it's understood that he's going to follow the same pathway that Yang Min-hyuk and now Yoon Do-young is going to follow, in the sense of signing with the Prem club and then being loaned out to develop for a year or two, or however long it takes for them to acclimate, and then jumping back on. And so, Brighton has a good history of doing that with Mitoma, and they look to follow that with now Yoon Do-young. And from what I understand, Newcastle also has a good history of developing, developing prospects, loaning them out, and then leveraging, whatever they can get out of that down the line. So yeah, hope to see that for sure. Now, on an interesting note, I think honestly, from the sense that I get from reporters from both sides, from the Newcastle side as well as from the Korean side, is that this deal is pretty much set and done. But then, you have also other reports saying that a fringe from the fringe side of things that it's not yet completed. That Park Seung-soo apparently still has to make a decision, and in addition to Newcastle, you have Bayern Munich that's also very interested in him.
Oh,
Bayern Munich had him for the trials last summer, actually.
right.
He couldn't be signed because he was still too young at 17.
And yes, then, 18 is when you're allowed to move, isn't it? So
yes, exactly. And then you also have Marseille interested in him as well. And the idea is that, they want Park to be in a place where he can get minutes, he can play. But, to be frank with you, he's not going to get any minutes at Bayern. He's not going to get any minutes in League One. He's just not at that place.
Yeah, he's not getting in the Bayern Munich team anytime soon, is he?
Newcastle is understood to be his favorite. And good. Rightfully so, because he's not getting minutes anywhere in any of the top 5 leagues to play. I think Newcastle will be his best place where he can just get his feet wet in Europe and just be developed. And
Eddie Howe's got a great reputation for developing players as well. So, for a project player, I don't see a better manager out there if you're going to be breaking into the first team than working under Eddie Howe, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There's Pep, obviously, is on a different level. He would be another great manager to work under, as all the best players say. But, is it big news where, from us signing the player, is there a buzz about it?
Of course. We Koreans are crazy about our football players. And we take great pride in our players. And so whenever a player goes overseas, even if it's to like Poland or anywhere, we get any player that makes it to Europe, we get excited about. And so you can only imagine how much more when a player gets signed to the best league in the world, the Premier League, or there's signs and indications that they're going to be signed to not only to a Premier League club, but to a big club like Newcastle, where you guys are playing in the Championship next year. I mean,
Champions League,
which is huge.
Yeah.
And so it's huge news for Koreans, and it's got us all excited. But at the same time, it's also gotten us a little, if I can say a little, surprised.
All right, yeah.
Right, because it's not like Park has been like tearing it up this season. We had hope following last season that he'd do better, but 10 games in, no goals, no assists. Not 10 games in. He's played in 10 games, no goals, no assists. But credit to him, he did play well in many of those games. He just hasn't produced those statistics that we'd have hope of him.
Yeah.
At this point, but at the same time, I think when you kind of take a step back and look at the context of his club, Suwon Samsung Blue Wings, they are in a fierce promotion battle right now to get out of the field too. And so you can understand why the coach doesn't want to take chances, and that's why he doesn't start, because he's still a little too young, a little too raw to be placed with that kind of responsibility at the current moment, at least. And so there's been some surprise. There's been some surprise among Korean fans, like, whoa,
maybe our scouts have seen something in him that we really like, and that's why. Obviously, like you say, if he's been on trials at Bayern Munich, there's a big reason why he got trials for them. They're not an easy club just to walk into.
Yeah, so it's strictly potential, obviously, at this point. There's so much potential. And the reporter who first broke this news, in my opinion, he's like the Fabrizio Romano of Korean football. His name is Soho. Right. He made an interesting comment that European clubs, Korean players, their age is money. He made that comment. Their age is like money. They're like lottery tickets. Like, they're very cheap. But you scratch on that ticket and you could
be anything. Yeah,
exactly. And so that's why a lot of European clubs these days are bringing younger players over on a level that we've never seen in Korean football before. Not just in the Prem, but also in Feyenoord. They just got a young guy as well. Hagen, Genk in Belgium, and so on. And so so that potential is obviously what they see more than anything else.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me, though, because obviously I always find them very hard-working players. I've seen them in internationals, very team players, hard-working, willing to put the foot in, won't back out of anything and put themselves on the line, basically. So, it doesn't surprise me. Has he featured much for the national team, as in the under-17s, under-18s, under-19s? Is he been part of that?
For sure, he's featured a lot in the under-17s. He was part of a star-stacked squad in I believe the U17 World Cup, along with Yang Min-hyuk and Yoon Do-young. And so he backed those guys up, and those guys are a class above him. And so again, that speaks to, the kind of potential he has to be in a squad like that at a very young age, and to back up, prospects like Yang Min-hyuk and Yoon Do-young, who are an age above him. And so for him to come on the pitch and show his quality, it shows a lot of the confidence that the coach has in him. He's also showed up a lot in the U20 matches as well, and he's done fairly well in the recent international competition. So yeah, he's featured quite a bit in our youth teams, and so he definitely checks the box in regards to a player who is featured prominently in our national teams. And again, that's a big reason why we consider him a big prospect.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're in the national team, again, you've obviously got potential. And normally the under-17s, under-18s, under-19s is breeding them to get into that, national team, isn't it? So that sounds good. Honestly, Eddie Howe is brilliant. We all know Richard, what he's done with Dan Burn, with especially Joelinton. We bought a player for 40 million in Joelinton, bought him as a striker, and then suddenly Eddie Howe turns him into one of the best midfielders in the league. So it just shows you about coaching and about adapting, and he'll definitely be I think we'll be a very good fit for him, to be fair. And again, he'll be a good fit for us commercially and as a player, because if he's got that mentality that he wants to be at the top, he'll be in a good place. And as you said, it all sounds very good from one end, but maybe not another end. It does sound like we are very close to getting his signature, but not quite there yet.
Yeah, and so again, like I said, the major trustworthy news and outlet reports all say that it's pretty much a done deal. You do have a small voice saying, well, it's not exactly done yet. And also recently Suwon, his own club, has said, oh, there is no deal, there's nothing going on. They're playing that game right now. And so yeah, you do kind of you hold your breath a little bit, but honestly, it's pretty much done. I think they're going to announce it. I think we're announce it when
we're over there for the friendly, do you think?
Yes, that's the plan, that they're going to complete the contract when you guys come over. And this can be something that's kind of promoted and brought out during all the festivities and whatnot. In the same way, Yang Min-hyuk was kind of brought out last summer with the Spurs. Very much.
Oh wow! Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Excellent, Joel. Well, sorry, got a chest infection, so I'm still coughing. Where can 5 weeks we'll get there eventually. Where can we find you, and what can we expect from your account yourself? Big yourself up, man.
Yeah, well, so I cover Korean national team football. I cover all our players, our prospects, and the latest transfer news. You can find me at KNT Football on X. And I appreciate all the follows from all the Newcastle fans. And so, when I see a lot of fans, from a particular fan base follow me, I do my best to also provide content that would be interesting to those fans. But I also provide that kind of content to a lot of fans from different fan bases. So, so please don't get overwhelmed at times when you see content on other Korean players around. It's just what I do on my account. Yeah. I'm not just an account that follows one club or just one player.
Of course.
So I hope Newcastle fans, you guys can join the ride with me for a while, and I really hope to bring you the best news and content available regarding Korean football, and definitely Park Seung-soo. And one last note I would just say is, again, I think there's legitimate reasons to be excited about Park, and I'm happy and I'm glad to see Park joining, hopefully potentially joining a team like Newcastle, with the storied history and culture, and just being this big club, and I hope it goes really well. But at the same time, again, he is just a prospect. He's very young, very raw, still has loads of developing to do. But the exciting thing about him is that the groundwork is pretty much set. He is a rare talent in regards to the physical capabilities that he brings to the team. But we need to give him time. We need to be patient with him. He's not going to come in right away and obviously produce. He is, I would say, a long-term prospect. But with that said, you know, who says he can't buck the trend and
Yeah, you never know.
press and whatnot. And so, you know, there's also a possibility we can see that. But we just got to be patient. We just got to take things, be level-headed about this, and take things step by step. And for now, for Park, his next steps, he just has to find time to play in the KL2, try to finish the season well. He's coming over in January of 2026, and so he still has half the KL2 season left. And we want him to, you know, you would want him to finish strong and continue to develop into KL2. And I'm sure Newcastle will also advise and also try to develop him even as he's still in Korea after he gets signed. And so look out for him in the K League, and I will definitely be the first to put up any highlights of Park in any of his games in the Korean in the KL2.
Sounds good to me. Like I say, we'll probably sign him, let him stay there to the end of the season, then loan him out again. God knows what's going to happen. And hopefully we do sign him. And I honestly, Joel, really appreciate you coming on and talking about this amazing player. And like I say, we'll keep an eye on your account and hopefully there'll be more stuff to watch.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to journeying with you guys.
Excellent. Take care, pal.
All right. Have a good day.